here. His name is Charlie Beljan. He saw yesterday morning a note about Tales from the Tour tonight, and God nudged him to send us a note and say, if you need any help, let me know. Ding, 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 ding. So Charlie Beljan is here. And we also have, we're really blessed to have Stan Utley here tonight. Some of you know him. But we're going to begin because I really want you to hear Charlie's story very carefully. We're going to begin with a single interview with Charlie Beljan. So please welcome to the stage from Mesa, Arizona, Charlie Beljan. Now, I happen to play golf, most of my golf, at a place called Mesa Country Club. And Charlie plays, or has played over his years, a lot of his golf at Alta Mesa Country Club, not terribly far away. One of my good friends that I play a lot of golf with at Mesa Country Club, Tom Cramsey, who's here tonight, would introduce me to Charlie every time Charlie would wander by and come slumming at Mesa Country Club. And so we'd met a couple of times. And I'd heard his story a little bit along the way, and I was really thrilled when I found out that he was going to be available for us to chat with tonight. Now, just a little thing, Charlie played in the qualifier for the Phoenix Open today and didn't quite make it. So everybody go, aw, aw. But he played good. So I'm going to just tell you a couple of things about Charlie and then ask him to kind of share his story with us. He won the U.S. Junior Amateur in 2002. So he could play for a long time. He's been a good player for a long time. What inspired him to play was his dad snuck him out of school one year at the Phoenix Open, took him to number 16. Some of you have been there. This is before there were as much libation as there is now. But he took him to number 16, and he happened to be there when a young guy named Tiger Woods made a hole-in-one. And that inspired him. That inspired a lot of people. And then later that year, Tiger won the Masters. And Charlie was even more inspired. So he decided that's what he wanted to do. He's going to play golf. And he started working on his game, and he had a lot of help from a guy named Steve Dallas at Alta Mesa. Steve, by the way, helped another guy quite a bit, a guy named Fred Couples. And so Steve is really a guy who's a giver and has just done a lot of great stuff. Charlie went on to get through Q school, get his tour card, and his first year on tour, he made, I think, 7 or 8 cuts, which is pretty good for a tour rookie. Not easy to do, but it was pretty tight whether or not he was going to get to keep his card. And I want to say it was the last term of the year.
Yes, sir.
Last term of the year. He was doing okay. And just before the 3rd round, he had a panic attack. Anybody out there ever have a panic attack playing golf? I have them all the time.
On national television.
Yeah, no, I never had one on national television. So my panic attacks are mostly self-induced. And but he was told, oh, you need to go to the hospital. Well, they took him to the hospital, but they said, you need to stay with the doctors. He came back, played, and won the tournament. How about?
Thank you.
Yeah. So. Now, here's the question. What do you do after you win on the PGA Tour and you finish high enough on the money list and you get your card for 2 years and you're still struggling with panic attacks? You're still struggling with anxiety. And that's the question that I have for Charlie. What do you do?
Well, unfortunately for me, is I started to self-medicate. I didn't know how to get rid of the anxiety without drinking alcohol in excessive amounts, and so I began drinking to self-medicate to feel better in the evenings, which then, if anybody knows, it's a vicious cycle because the drinking is what causes the anxiety. So I'd go and be playing golf tournaments and thinking about, let's finish, that way I could get a drink and that way I could feel like a normal human being again. So the self-medicating started with a little bit, continued with me really doing it. I spent a lot of time, obviously, on the road, sometimes 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row. You stayed in hotels, which to me at the time seemed like cell blocks. Because I wasn't happy with where I was. I was going down a deeper hole, further away from where I wanted to be. Meanwhile, all my friends, my family was like, oh my gosh, life must be so good because you've worked so hard to get to the pinnacle. You've gotten to the pinnacle. You've won at the pinnacle. Meanwhile, inside, I was completely empty and lonely and depressed and popping Xanax to beat the anxiety like chiclets and taking depression medicine and drinking. And it was just a really vicious cycle for many years. Do you want me just to kind of...
And I'm guessing that doesn't really help your golf game?
No, but when you're drinking, you can justify that anything will help your golf game. And especially us golfers, I mean, there's a lot of us, they call it swing juice or whatever you want. So we can kind of make an excuse for anything.
Good to know. But you didn't keep your card.
Well, I kept my card for a handful of years, and then I was at the Houston tournament, and I had about a 1 o'clock tee time that afternoon, and I went to turn the door knob on my hotel, and I physically couldn't turn it because my anxiety was so bad. And I knew that the anxiety was bad because I was having to go play golf, and I knew that these horrible feelings were gonna come, and they kind of just crippled me, paralyzed me. So I called my caddy. My caddy came over. I called the tour, and I took a leave of absence from the tour to try to get my life together, which then things really only started to spiral the other direction and led me down a deeper hole.
And then you had a medical exemption for a while?
I came back to the tour when I thought I was ready. Really, I wasn't ready. I just had perfected my craft a little bit more of drinking and playing golf. And I had 5 events to, I think, make about $500,000 or so, and I didn't even come close to that. So I lost the full status of the PGA Tour card. Now I had all the pressure on me and all the thoughts of what are all my peers gonna think, what are my family gonna think. Here's something that I worked so hard for, that I put everything I had in, I achieved it, and now it's been taken away from me.
A lot of people that I have met have gotten to this point in their life where they've said, I thought this would satisfy everything, and it didn't. And is that all there is? What else is there? So what was the answer for you?
Well, the answer is I'm happy to sit here and say that I'm 40 months sober. That was, thank you. So 40 months sober. When I took a break from the tour, I entered the world of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and et cetera, and happened to do very well. So now I had some extra money, was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and the path went worse and worse. And first, I got to go back real quick to how my sobriety came. I'm up playing the Sedona Open here in Arizona at Oak Creek Canyon, and in the final round, I make the cut, but I could care less, really. I mean, golf at this point is just kind of an afterthought, and I went out the night before the final round, and I go out the next day, and I hit 18 greens, and I 3-putt 13 times because my hands were so shaky, and my anxiety was out of control. And I got home, and the next morning, my wife kind of sat me down in the bedroom and said, listen, this is an ultimatum, but this isn't the man that I wanted to be with. And she used to like to have a glass of wine maybe once a week, and now all of a sudden she was following my path, so she was totally leaving everything that she had known. And she said, listen, not that you have to make a choice. I knew what I was getting into when I married you. But that was the conversation, and I looked at her and I said, I'm never gonna drink again. And she had heard that 1,000,000 times because I'd said it 1,000,000 times. And when I told everybody, they kind of started to laugh, but now here I am. My wife and I have never been happier, never been closer. 40 months sober, and I owe it all to her, and I owe it all to God, as I now know. Thank you. So how I started to follow Jesus is I'm doing this cryptocurrency thing. Things are working really well, but I'm waking up every morning and I have no passion for anything. And I've got some money, I've got a great family, I've got a good support system, I got good friends, I'm sober. I think, gosh, what else do I need to do? But something was missing inside me, and there's a guy sitting here in the audience tonight, Jake, and for about 2 years, he had been calling me, hey man, let's get together. And I knew that Jesus had changed his life. I think he's about a decade now, and for 2 years, I said, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then finally he says, hey, let's go get lunch. And we go to lunch, and what I think is gonna be about 30 minutes turns into 2.5 hours, because I'm just listening to his story and the way it's changed his life and the miracles that God's working. And I'm like, man, this guy's authentic. We haven't talked in years, and he's sharing things with me that I wouldn't expect him to share with me. But going through sobriety, those are the relationships that I thrive for now, is meaningful relationships instead of chit-chat football or whatever it is. So about a week goes by, and he texts me and he says, hey man, we're starting a men's Bible study Wednesday night. It's 6 weeks long. Why don't you come with me? And I'm thinking, I'm kind of an all in or all out guy. I'm either all drinking or I'm not drinking. I'm all in, and so I said, well, let me check my schedule. And sure enough, those next 6 weeks I was gonna be there. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go. And it was no thought about it, no hesitation. I went from the phone call to looking at my calendar to calling him back saying I'm going. And that's kind of that was, I think, last April or May. So I still don't even know what I don't know when we start talking about the big picture here. But I started going to that and realizing that I wasn't the only one that had problems. And as a matter of fact, I was like, holy cow, my problems are pretty darn insignificant to these other men that were sitting here and they're sharing. And it really just touched me. And so then all of a sudden, I hate to say this, but for my wife and I have been together for 9 years, and up until the last year, she went to church every Sunday by herself and sat there. And she would ask me to come, and the occasional time I would attend, the message wouldn't hit home. And so I'm like, what is this? This isn't for me. And so luckily I had Jake that was very persistent, stuck with me, got me into that men's Bible study. But what I noticed is all of a sudden I was fiending for that Wednesday night. Like I fiend for a drink. Now I was fiending for that connection with everybody in Jesus and church. And it was something that I just looked so forward to. And so that kind of is what opened my eyes to Jesus. And I've kind of started this path now. And now I don't book anything for Sunday mornings. It is my top priority to sit next to my wife in church and praise God for all that he's done for us. And through that, and I've shared this story on my sobriety story on social media. And really, I went from feeling very unfulfilled to starting to share my story to coming to God. And let me tell you what, between getting sober and finding God, there's really nothing that I can't accomplish. And so it's really powerful.
So what's next for golf?
So we had another incident happen to our family in June, and in July I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go back and play golf. And I'm 39 years old now, and I used to, lead the tour in driving distance. Now I play with 25-year-old kids, and I gotta pull out my rangefinder to see how far they're hitting it by me. But, that's just, everybody in here gets a little bit older, we get a little shorter. Unfortunately, I can't move up a tee box yet, but... So for me, I said, you know what, I'm gonna give this golf thing a go. But for me, it's not about the golf. It's about the platform that the PGA Tour has. And with that platform is bigger than any platform that I could create by myself. I wanted to share my story because yes, golf is great, but I've chased golf my whole life, and when I got there, it wasn't what I was searching for. And so I went back, ended up getting a Korn Ferry Tour card this year, which for not playing for 5 years and doing that was a huge accomplishment. I didn't hang my head, but I wanted to get back to share my story on stages like this and touch the lives of people and others, because without Jake, without my wife, without other people, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair today, and I hate to think where I could be.
Amen. Amen. Give him a hand. Well, Identity Sports is going to do a podcast with Charlie, and we'll let everybody know about that. Go make sure you sign up for the Identity Sports newsletter, because the story goes on. There's more. I mean, this is just so powerful. And all of us, in some way, have experienced something like what Charlie has gone through. Maybe not quite as dramatic. Certainly not. Most of us haven't experienced it on the PGA Tour or anxiety attack on national television. We haven't had that. And that's okay. We don't need to have that. But all of us need to have a relationship with Jesus. And that is the answer to everything. And I couldn't help but think, and I'll just say this before we move into our next part of the event tonight, there is a scripture that many of you out there know, and I'm sure Charlie knows it well: be anxious for nothing. God is with you, and if you are with God, that can take away the worst anxiety attack you can imagine.
I just want to touch on that real quick. So for me, being relatively new, not even a year into this, I think the biggest takeaway that I've had from this whole experience for me is when I finally surrendered, because I was a control freak. I had to be in control of everything. Golf had to go this way, or Charlie's mood went based on how golf went, and that wasn't fair to anybody around me. But the coolest thing is, since I've surrendered to God and understand that I don't control where I'm going in my life, it has brought me so much joy, and I've never enjoyed the game of golf and the relationships and everything I have. And like today I played flawless golf. It didn't go my way, but that's okay. It's not my time. And you know what? This is way more important of a fallback plan than qualifying.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we're gonna keep Charlie out here, and I'm going to introduce other players, and then we are going to have the famous Tails Cup. How about that? You ever win something that cool? Hardware. Yeah. Charlie walked in tonight, he saw that, he said, I didn't know there was going to be hardware. I said, yeah, but no cash. So we're going to do the Tails Cup. Let me introduce the other players who are going to compete with this guy, whose game is fresh because he was playing in the qualifying today. So these guys aren't fresh at all. So first guy I'm going to introduce, I didn't even tell him what order, but first guy I'm going to introduce is my pal, without whom I just tell you, he has been such a huge help to Tales from the Tour over the years. He lives in Scottsdale, my fellow Arizonan, made his mark on the golf world early, winning the Australian Open as an amateur in 1999. And then everybody said, oh, it was a lucky deal, and he came back, turned pro, and came back and won it again the next year. So not that lucky. He has gone on to accomplish much more as a golfer, and he said on this stage, and I'm getting better. So that's pretty scary for everybody else. Please welcome Aaron Baddeley. No, you're fine. Now we've got first 2 minutes that I mean literally the first 2 minutes that I ever saw this man give a golf lesson, I knew immediately that he was extraordinary. I taught tennis and I've taught golf and I've taught a lot of things over the years, so I can recognize a good teacher. And I saw this guy, and literally in 2 minutes, I said, this guy is amazing. And he is now ranked as the 11th best golf instructor in maybe the world, I don't know. In my mind, he's #1, former PGA Tour player, PGA Tour winner. Please welcome Stan Utley. And our last guest for this evening, I told this guy one time, he has been a guest here before, and I've gotten to meet him a couple of times at various events and things around over the years. And I told him one time that if the Caddie thing didn't work out, he could be a stand-up comedian. And he said, that's the best compliment I ever got. He really is extraordinarily naturally funny. He's one of Aaron's best friends out on tour. But the Caddie thing did work out. In fact, as a caddy, he's won the Masters 3 times. Please welcome Scottie Scheffler's caddy, Ted Scott. The first year we did the chipping contest here, the Tails Cup, both of these guys were on stage. And I'm standing here talking about what we're going to do, have a little chipping contest. And Aaron got up out of his chair and started stretching. Ted went over and picked up my golf bag and said, I'm not chipping, I'm a caddy. He's a good golfer. Trust me. Trust me. If he comes to you and says, let's play for $5 because I'm just a caddy, just give him the $5 and go play. So we're having the Tails Cup, and on both ends here we have people who have won the Tails Cup. Stan won it down in Texas. Bads won it in California. And I think he won it here too, right? 2-time winner of the Tails Cup. And he came to play. So, you have, out there in the audience, we have some baskets. If you have a basket, stand up. Please stand up. Okay. So we have different distances here. Is somebody way back there where I see, oh, there you are. There you are over there. Okay. So that's, now I measured this earlier. Ted, okay, Teddy, give us some distances here, will you?
About 112 to that guy. And yep, this one here is only 13.5 yards.
13.5, all right.
This one's 112 or
112?
12.5.
Yeah, it could be 12.5.
And in the back there is 18.4.
All right, now you guys got all those distances? And the question is, do you trust the caddy? Of course you trust the caddy. This guy never makes a mistake. He always gets it right. Okay, Badge, you gonna go first? All right, here we go. And we got real golf balls here. So let's start with the real balls. And so there are four targets, and you have to hit one at each target, and you get 1 point if it goes in, and maybe a half a point if it hits it and doesn't go in.
And you can help out a little bit too.
Oh yes, yeah, you can move. Just don't knock over anybody. Oh, if she reaches up and puts that in the basket, we'll count it.
It's like the Red Sox guy.
Oh. you see that? Yeah, yeah. That's a full point. That's a full point right there. Yeah. Yeah, no? Yes, no?
Those yardages were off a little bit.
He's blaming it on the caddy.
Hey, I didn't realize how do you turn this?
Just talk to it. It'll.
It was in meters.
Oh!
No. All right. Weird. I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, whatever.
You got him?
Yeah, there you go.
Does it matter where I start?
No, start with any of them.
I'm going to go the other way since Bads didn't make any of that.
Oh. That was pretty good.
You still hit it far, Charlie?
Not anymore. Not compared to the 25-year-old kids.
Oh yeah, yeah, that counts. We're counting that one.
Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, little wind.
Oh, there was some wind up there. We did. All right. Yeah. All right, Stan. Give you the orange. There you go.
Let's go for the
Oh, whoa, sorry about that. Oh, that wind is still there. Yeah. Got it. Looking good.
That shot reminds me of, I've been giving my pastors lessons.
Uh-oh.
I've turned them into hookers from slicers.
Oh, he tried. He went for it. Oh, that's in. Yeah, that's in. What's the score here? You got two? You got one? You got two? You got two? Okay, we're tied. Three wins it.
Three to the win.
That's been studying the wind.
You got a rake? This would be a lot easier if I could have a rake.
Yeah, he's better with a rake than a club. Oh,
Interference.
Yeah.
Holding number 76.
oh, just a little long, was that?
A little bit of adrenaline, folks. Sorry. Usually I'm working with the pencil.
All
Yeah.
right,
Come on. Playoff. We need a playoff.
it's going for the playoff. Uh-oh. Oh, not quite. Okay, so you two guys, okay, 4 shots at the long ball, or
2 shots to the long.
2 shots at the long ball, at the long bucket.
It's over there.
Which one are we going to?
The long one, right here. Right here. 18.5 yards. 2 shots. 2 shots. One. Oh. Pressure. Oh, yeah. Was that good? Was that good? Okay, it was good. They're counting it. 2. All right, we're giving the tails cut to Charlie Beljan.
That's
told you I was going to get that hard there.
There you go. There you go.
There we
Somebody
go.
take a picture of that. There you go. And that was donated by Canyon Awards, that trophy was. And so we appreciate their generosity. So we're going to exit here. We got one, Charlie and I are going to exit for a minute. And we're going to bring out our interviewer, my friend and colleague at Links Players, and a great, great golfer. He's played in something like 25 tour events on the European Tour and American Tour. He's accomplished a lot on the golf course. He's accomplished even more as a pastor and as the president of Links Players. Oh, before he comes out, you guys with the baskets and the balls, you don't get to keep those. You got to bring those back. But when you do, I'll give you a Links Players hat. How about that? So bring those back after the event is over. But right now, please welcome to the stage Jeffrey Cranford. Got it. Thanks.
Can't believe you didn't pull that off. I'll be honest with you, after Charlie's talk tonight, it feels a little bit like maybe I'm Weird Al Yankovic following the Stones or something like that. I don't know, that was just so incredible. We were in the back just going, we could just go up here and mic drop right now, and we've already had a great evening. So it's a thrill. This is kind of, we didn't know how this was gonna work out. As Lewis alluded to, we, with Pebble Beach going, and that was supposed to finish today, and where we're just gonna have a couple of, we were looking for low handicaps. We were calling all the local clubs and seeing what their local lowest handicap at their club was. But to my left, obviously, Stan, and there's a few things that I want to talk about. But the first thing I kind of want to lead off here with is, as I was thinking about it today, I was thinking, what would I be interested in talking to you guys about, just like we were having a cup of coffee, and that usually is the best way to go about it. So I didn't tell you in the back, but I want you to think about it for a second. I want you to describe for me the most incredible golf moment. I'm not talking about family or one of your kids being born or anything like that. Those are all impressive. And awesome, but a golf experience that you witnessed, not that you pulled off yourself, but that you witnessed a shot, maybe even a round watching somebody play, something that you were just like, that is just next level kind of stuff. So anybody got something? I mean, you've got a few here, Teddy, but Stan, anything jump to your mind when you're thinking about just one of the greatest things you've witnessed?
Well, I was playing in New Orleans at English Turn, and it was late in the career of Jack Nicklaus playing the PGA Tour. But he designed the club, and he came back and played the tournament, and I got paired with him on Sunday. And so what an experience. Some of you guys know who David Cook is. He was my sports psychologist. He said, you always wanted to be prepared for whatever could happen.
Right.
I called David, I said, we need a new plan. But early in the front nine, there was this par 3 that was such a bad design because, I don't know, 4 or 5, it's got this little skinny green, it's 180 some yards, like, I tried every way in the world I could to hit the ball on the green. Like there was a bunker out there short so I could like cut a 4-iron in and try to run it up on, but it was just a terrible hole until I saw Jack play it. He brings in this 5-iron out of the sky, drops it in over the front bunkers, checks up, stops short of the hole, and I thought, it's not a bad hole after all. I just didn't have the shot.
I mean, there are those moments when you're playing with somebody and you're just going, this is not something somebody said about Tom Lehman. I think even Nicholas said that about Tom Lehman. He plays a game with which I am not familiar. So, which Bobby Jones said about Jack, and so same thing. Bads, anything comes to mind just as you're out there and workaday world and you're playing golf with somebody and you just see something. Now that is exceptional. Exceptional.
I mean, I feel like over the years there's been shots. I mean, watched a guy, his name was Paul Gow back in Australia, and he shot 60 and had a putt for 59. I remember that.
Back when that was a big deal.
Now
Now it
it's a
seems
big
to
deal.
be almost
Now it's
weekly.
like, 59, okay, well done, you know. But no, I remember that vividly. Like, he didn't miss a shot all day, and we got to the last hole, and he's got about a 20-footer, and we're standing there, everyone's quiet, and it's a bit of an amphitheater on the back of the green, and there's this, he literally gets over the putt, and a phone goes off, rings, like, so, and there was this guy standing at the back he pulls it out of his pocket, presses ignore, puts it back in his pocket, and just stood there. I was like, wait, what? And then he gets out there and he missed it, but I remember that vividly. Just obviously playing with Tiger over the years. But
Well, is that sound? Is that, I mean, a lot of guys talk about sound
I would say one of the things that impressed me was Bubba. I mean, obviously you worked with Bubba for a long time, and Bubba's one of my good friends, but the control that he had on the golf ball, like, he would shape the ball more than anyone on the tour, and it was rare that his ball would cross the target. Like, he might curve it 50 yards and it wouldn't cross over. Like, that was, I remember watching that. I remember even saying to Rochelle, like, one time, like, I can't compete with that. You know, he's just so good. Like, his sound was pretty special. But yeah, his control of the golf ball was probably something
just
like, wow.
straight ball control. Yeah. Well, Teddy, you've actually been witness to some unbelievable golf with the majors that you've been on the bag for and all that. Obviously, Bubba's shot. I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder. I mean, I think you were caddying for Grant Waite when Tiger hit that famous 6-iron out of the bunker. It was Canada. What was that? Yeah. And so, how about you? I mean, you've seen some stuff. It might just be on the back of the range with some of these guys sometimes.
You're not going to believe my answer. It has something to do with Bubba Watson. But it's Bubba Watson's father-in-law hit the greatest shot I've ever seen in my life. And he's about a 30 handicapper. I'm not even kidding. Canadian golfer, so he's a left-hander. We're playing the Indio under the lights over there in...
Indio par 3?
Yes, Indio par 3. We're over there. Bubba Watson, his wife, his father-in-law, and me. And his father-in-law gets up on a 195-yard par 3. He takes his driver out, aims parallel like he's supposed to do. And there's a tree that Bubba said, I don't even think I could hit it around this tree and hit the green. And his father-in-law came over the top so hard with a driver, he hit it right at this tree and sliced it onto the green. And to this day, it's the greatest shot I've ever seen in my life. Like, unplanned, but it was pretty miraculous.
When you started that, you went, well, Bubba Watson, and I went, okay, the shot at Augusta is father-in-law, yeah.
But yeah, over the years, obviously the shot that Bubba hit at Augusta was really cool. But, you know, Aaron's played enough golf with him to know that's just a middle of the fairway swing for Bubba sometimes. You know, if he doesn't like the way it looks, he's going to hit a big hook. So I think it was more the circumstance that makes it so impressive, you know, because it's just how he played golf.
Why did he want to play golf that way? Was that just the way he was wired? Did he feel like he had an advantage to do that? I mean, just if I know I'm going to hit a 30-yard cut, I know I'm not going to hook it kind of thing, or what?
Well, when he was a kid, his dad gave him some wiffle balls, and he would hit them around his house, and he didn't have lessons. And what he realized was that if he curved it, he could get around the house all the way around in less shots. So that's how he learned to play, was just hitting a big, huge curve this way and then a big, huge curve this way. And he's like, oh, I can actually get there faster. And then I remember one particular, just to tell you how much straight was not a part of his conversation. We had a pretty important putt in a tournament, and he called me in. He says, what do you see here? And I said, straight. He goes, come on, man, give me something. Left center. He goes, left center, right center, something, man. I need something. I was like, okay, left center then, fine. Like, whatever. It's straight, but hit it left center. It'll still go in. So, he did not like straight.
Did not like straight. Oh, man, that's good. So there's no way we can do one of these without at least talking a little bit of golf swing. And so First of all, obviously, Stan, you actually hadn't been here since we haven't really talked through the Charles Barkley deal. I mean, most people are aware that Charles, had one of the most YouTube swings on the planet, a complete inability to even get to the ball. And you called him, tell the story, set up the story for us, and kind of how that went down, and then kind of what happened.
So let's talk about God.
I'm all for it.
It's fascinating to look at a career and think about what drives your business. You guys are all in that boat. What drives your business? How about being a short game coach and being known for helping the worst swing in golf?
It's awesome.
God is good. Well, our good friend Tom Lehman is having a charity event, helping kids. And I run into Charles. I can't believe it's been 5 years ago. And he's such a friendly guy. I didn't really know him. I'd seen his swing on YouTube. I was like, Charles, I'd love to watch you sometime. And he gave me I've seen everybody. And I'm like, well, what about one more? And so he showed up not too long after that. My son Jake and I helped him at the back of Greyhawk. I already had an idea what I was going to tell him. About 30 or 40 minutes into the lesson, he repeated back to me what I was saying.
Which doesn't always happen.
You hope as an instructor they hear you. And I've had people say, you said 40 things today. And I'm like, no. I had to say one thing 40 different ways for you to hear me. And that's the craft of teaching golf. But I took a lesson. I travel. I take lots of lessons. And I took a lesson in New York from Michael Jacobs not too long ago. And he helped me understand why part of what I teach works. And it applies to Charles's help. If you held a golf club balanced on your finger, there's a tipping point. And Michael Jacobs said, a golf club, physics-wise, teeter-totters around the balance point. So if you put an influence on this end, it has an equal and opposite influence on that end. Hand me that wedge. I feel way more comfortable holding a club. So Charles's swing, at some point, this end needs to quit going down if you want that end to circle. And as simple as that may sound, we're on the back of Talon Range at Greyhawk, and he says, you mean you want me to take my wrist and throw the club backwards at that tree? He's gotten better every day since.
As simple
and that's
as that.
all I told him.
40 different times in 40 different ways.
Well, he caught on
Did
quicker
he get
than
it quick?
most.
Yeah, good.
I do have to say the most aggravating question I've gotten from reporters is they ask me how I fixed his mind. And that is offensive, I believe, because he has one of the strongest minds who ever played a sport. And you may be like him. You may think you lack confidence, but the problem is your skill set deserves none. I say that with full encouragement. Because we can help your skill. You probably aren't that weak mentally.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So, Bads, last year we were talking a little bit because you had gone down and seen Mike Adams, right? And you'd made that decision, and you've seen some quick results. Are you still kind of there? Are you kind of, okay, that's in my brain. It was pretty simple. I try to keep it simple and moved on to something, or are you still, I mean, tell us kind of about what's going on through your head. And because we've always talked about that. You've been a little bit of a technician. I've interviewed a bunch of guys that are like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to know. I don't want to see any video. And then you've always kind of been the opposite. So where are you in this?
Yeah, I would say like, I guess my putting is probably like as simple as most putting can get. Like, I have a couple of technique checks, and then from there I just putt. Like, when I go over my technique, I make sure like my setup's in the right spot, so my arms are in a balanced position, my distance from the ball is the same. The ball position from my left foot is in the same spot. Then after I do that...
We're talking about skill that deserves confidence.
That's a fact. Yeah. I've seen it up close and personal.
Yeah. So then after that, it sounds funny, but I just practice making putts. Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but like, so today I was out practicing at TPC, and I got on the slopiest hole I could get on, and I practiced like different speeds going into the hole. So you completely didn't think about technique. All you thought about was how that ball is going to go into the hole. And I've always tried to get my golf swing to be like that. And back to what Stan was saying, I didn't have the skill set to have the confidence for that, where I couldn't trust my swing. And but Mike Adams, I saw him about just over 2 years ago now, and he's made my swing as simple as it's ever been. Basically just work on my right-hand grip. That's about it. That's pretty much the majority. That's 90% of what I work on. Make sure that's in the right spot. Then after that, it's just going and hitting shots, working on my distance control, shaping the ball both ways. So I feel like my swing is finally matching my putting, which has always been my strong suit.
Awesome, awesome. And you're playing well, man. I mean, you're just playing great golf. I mean, it's super exciting for me to see now that you are in the 40 club, right? So that's awesome. Well, Teddy, I mean, you have such an interesting, I mean, your last two guys, I mean, Scotty's footwork and Bubba, I don't even know how you describe Bubba's golf swing. You got two guys with the most talked about footwork in the game, and you happen to have, you know, taken them through majors, both of them. Tell us a little bit about, I know you, because I think you were, before you got the call from Scotty, or at least you interviewed him from what I read, you were going to start your own golf instruction gig. What? Tell us about it.
Yeah, when Lewis was describing the 11th best teacher in the country, I was like, I was coming out, and then he's like, and PGA Tour winner, I was like, oh, that's not me, so that must be you, Stan.
So talk about, I happened to be, I was at Preston Trails this last end of the summer, and you guys were on the back of the range. I didn't go down there and bother you because you were in the middle of a session. What are you just watching him hit shots? Or I know you're an eye for him, right? I mean, he's got his coach and everything. Tell us a little bit about what he works on, how he thinks about the golf swing.
Yeah, well, some of you that are golf nuts would know who Randy Smith is. Randy Smith has coached him since he was 7. I think his track record is 13 juniors to the PGA Tour, so great golf coach, a lot of experience. And so basically I just asked Randy, like, what do you want me to look for? You know, and I try to be the eyes for him when he's not there. That particular day, you know, I saw Scotty was kind of getting the club up and out early and struggling with it, and I videoed and just said, hey, look, you know, this is a little abnormal for what I normally see. Why don't you try to get it going through your hands a little better? So he got the club moving a little quicker, and, you know, he was off to the races. But basically what he does, he has a grip club that it's a 6-iron, and it's like, you know, when you buy that golf club in a Walmart, and it's like a weighted thing, and it's got a, you know, it teaches you how to put your hands on it. Well, he has one of those that he's been using since he was a little kid, and it happens to be a 6-iron, and he puts lead tape on the other end of it. So every day he's doing basic fundamentals, making sure that his grip is right, and making sure that he's set up right, and finding what he would call straight. So he's trying to hit a 6-iron, very neutral ball flight. And once he gets the feel for that, based on his setup's good and, you know, coming through, then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna do very similar to what Aaron does when he goes and putts. Now I'm just gonna hit shots. So after he gets that 6-iron, then the rest of the day is like low this, high that. Everything is based off of that baseline. So he's finding a baseline, which is a little bit mechanical, and then he's shutting that off and now becoming more of the athlete, which is kind of what, Aaron alluded to.
Which we've all tried to play golf thinking through a change, and that is just brutal. I mean, it's almost impossible to really score in that way when you're in that place. So you've got to get through it as fast as you can, and yet you go back and have drills, and right, you guys have specific drills you work with, and he on the range, or no?
Yeah, Randy, comes up with little neat creative ideas to kind of bump him back into play. I mean, the neat thing about a great golfer is they really don't get too far off. Sometimes they think they're really far off, and that's usually when the great golfer starts to plummet. They start trying to change everything, but usually they only need a little bit of an adjustment, and they're right back to hitting the ball where they want. And I think that's a great attribute that he has in his coach, is that he's never going to rebuild his swing. As a matter of fact, the TaylorMade guys were coming up with new equipment, so they brought the entire TaylorMade van down to Scotty's home club in Dallas to do some testing. And it was really funny because, the last 2 years, for those of you that follow golf, he's been statistically the best ball striker in the world. And Randy comes up to me and he goes, "This guy's an idiot." And I said, "Okay, talk to me, Randy." He goes, "He hits one ball offline. He's asking me what he did. I'm not telling him anything," And that's such a good coach, because he's not going to get involved. It's like, buddy, you just keep hitting it. 1 or 2 shots. I need to see a pattern of bad shots. And so, it's just little checks for him to just kind of get him back in the neutral zone and then just go play, And I think if I was to coach somebody that wasn't highly skilled, then you've got to start searching for that thing, like, Stan was saying with Charles Barkley, like, why are they struggling so bad, and find the low-hanging fruit and understand, just like your Christian walk, it's a process. You don't just get saved and all of a sudden, man, I'm never going to sin again. It's a lifelong, progress and pursuit, and you're just trying to get a little better every day. And the road is like this, man. It's rocky. It's not just straight to the top. And so I think just keeping that in mind makes us come back and want to play with a learn and grow mindset. It keeps the game fun.
It's fun. It's a perfect segue, because I was thinking as Charlie was talking and sharing his story, and I mean, he said it himself. He says, I don't even know what I don't know. I mean, how wise is that? I mean, and my first instinct, of course, pastoral instinct, but I think these guys had the same feel, like, all right, let's come around this guy. I want to get to know this guy. I want to make sure, Charlie he sounds like he's got a great guy in Jake. He was talking about Jake, and I just want to make sure he's surrounded by the right guys, whether he's playing or whether he's home or whatever. And because of what you just said, there's an instinctive kind of thing. Okay, now it's like I've gone to Las Vegas and I've pulled the Jesus deal, and ding, 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 and it always comes up, cherries, and money starts falling out, and that's just not the way it goes. And Stan, you've been walking through that over the last few years. It hasn't been coming up roses for you with your health issue. Can you talk about that a little bit and say, what's the purpose? What's going on here? What's going on in your life?
Well, the fact that all of us have stuff going on.
Yes.
And I had a lump in my growing at the end of 2018. I had it out, and the biopsy came back January 16th, 2019. It was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That was my birthday.
On your birthday?
On my birthday. So that wasn't good news. But the good news was I had caught it so early that it was in the little lymph node. Got all the cancer out. I did the chemo. It's funny that just in the last 4 or 5 months, more people have told me I look good than I ever remember. I bring that up because, man, I must have looked bad. That chemo kicks your butt. But the good news is the cancer's gone. The bad news is I started shaking. And it's pretty good right now. I took my drugs. But the cycle is shorter for the drugs to work. But the neurologist said I got drug-induced Parkinson's. So I probably was genetically disposed to get Parkinson's, but the trauma from the chemo kicked it in. All I can say, it never slowed me down.
Well, I know that for a fact. We talked. So, tell us about the range of emotions. Fear, or how are you dealing with this with God? I mean, are you hurling accusations at the sky? I mean, how do you walk through this?
I say, when I was young, I grew up in church, and the setting I grew up in wasn't terribly grace-filled. And I knew I wanted to accept Christ, but I was slow to do that. And I literally remember riding in the car with my parents saying, wow, if he hits a tree and I die tonight, I don't think I'm saved. I made that decision, though, a long time ago. So I'm not really fearful of death. I would be fearful of what I miss out on life with my family, but that part isn't scary. But it's not something I dwell on.
But Stan, that changes everything. I mean, if you get to a place where you don't fear death, that gives liberty in ways that are untold. I mean, not just a Parkinson's diagnosis, but I mean, anytime. It's what Charlie was saying about golf. It just doesn't seem to be as big a deal anymore. It gives perspective to the brevity, right, of this life.
The hope is in something greater.
If you worship something greater than yourself, there's hope. If you worship something your size or less, you're always going to come up short, right?
You're always going to be short.
You're always going to be short. Thanks for that. Love you, man. We love you.
But by the way, you didn't ask me about playing the Phoenix Open this week.
You
didn't know I was in the tournament, did you?
I didn't know you were on this platform till about 5 minutes before we went
me
on
neither.
this deal.
That's why I'm shaking. But I do want to say I got in the Phoenix Open this week. But
Keep going.
They cut me after today's Monday Pro-Am, so I'm out again.
So Baz, has it just been a straight up for you? I mean, you know, the Jesus thing, and you get saved, and then it's just like this. It's just all the way to the top, or, I mean, talk a little bit about struggle, whatever area.
Yeah, it's just been smooth sailing. Just pretty easy. Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely like grew up in a Christian home, but like Stan was saying, and I was 9, like when I gave my heart to Jesus, but growing up, I wouldn't say there was much difference between me and my non-Christian buddies. And then I would say like the one story that really stands out a lot, like it was about 2001, so I was like 20 when I really started to seek the Lord and really started to spend daily time in the Word, daily time just with Him. And so fast forward a little bit, like...
Matt, now when you say that, when I'm spending time, kind of daily time with Him, what does that feel like, look like? I mean, are you sensing Him in the room? Is this your little private invisible friend? I mean, a lot of people struggle with that idea. What do you mean, like, spending time with Him? What do you describe what that looks like for you?
Yeah, so I've got 6 kids, and so thank you, yeah. I mean, I think give my wife a clap more than myself. So I like to beat them up. I like to be up first before the kids get up.
Good clarification.
Yeah. thought we were in church.
You are in church.
But no, so I like to be awake before the kids arise from their slumber. And so there's a seat at the dining room table where I sit every morning. I got my Bible out, and I read pretty much every day. I'll spend time reading. I like to write. I've been writing a lot for a lot of years now, and so I write a lot about with what I learned, what I read this morning, and then I'll journal that either. It's usually on my phone now. I used to be in a journal where I'd use a pen and stuff like that, but now I just type on the phone, and then we actually got a Bible. There's a few guys of us, a couple guys on tour, a couple caddies, and then some other friends, and we've got like I think it's like 13 of us, and we sort of all share our thoughts, which has been pretty awesome. And then also I like, another part of that is either going for a walk. I like to maybe go for a walk in the desert and just spend time praying where it's quiet. There's no one around in the desert here, which is great. So you can sort of really spend some time with just praying about some things, that whether it's a decision coming up or whether it's just spending time with him, as in just thanking him for what's going on in life, or asking for direction, just worshiping him, telling him how good he is and how much you love him.
So it's a two-way. I mean, it's not just you throwing stuff up to the sky. I mean, you're feeling
it's 100%
direction.
two-way, because you know, the Bible says that man shall not live on bread alone, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. And it's like, so it hasn't proceeded, so it's not past tense, but it's a present tense. And I've seen all throughout my life that God's spoken to us about something, a decision. A great example of that is my first PGA Tour win at Hilton Head. So this is back in 2006, and it was our first year wedding anniversary coming up. So I was going to take Rochelle back to where we went for our honeymoon, and we both having quiet time separately, and we both sort of came back to each other and we're like, I feel like God's saying we should go play Hilton Head. And lo and behold, I ended up winning the tournament. I spoke at the Easter sunrise service on the Sunday morning, and then about 10 hours later, I win the golf tournament. And that wouldn't happen if we would have missed that if we weren't open to listening and hearing from the Lord.
Powerful. Yeah. So Teddy, talk a little bit about your walk. Are you having similar experiences as Aaron? I mean, is this a two-way deal? I mean, do you pray about things? What does that look like? I mean, what does it practically look like? What is that?
Growing up, I followed the PGA Tour like a lot of people. My dad loved to watch it, and I just kind of accidentally started caddying on the PGA Tour, and I wasn't a Christian yet, and I ended up getting saved in 2003. And, I think the most profound thing that ever happened really, that really just woke me up, and really, Charlie alluded to it a little bit as well, and you hear it from a lot of athletes. But when Bubba Watson won the Masters the second time, okay, the Masters, right? The biggest golf tournament, the most prestigious golf tournament. I mean, you win it once, it's pretty cool. The second time he won it, I got a phone call 2 weeks later, and Bubba always had his number come up as private, so I didn't know who it was, so I answered the phone, and hello, and this is just amazing to me. The voice on the other end said, "What's the point?" And I said, "Hello?" And he said, "Seriously, dude, what's the point?" And I'm like, okay, that sounds like Bubba. I'm like, Bubba? He's like, yeah. I said, what's the point in what? He goes, winning the Masters, it's pointless. 2 weeks after winning it the second time. So what was he saying? And I had to think about it in that moment, like, what is he saying? Why is he saying that? Because is winning the Masters pointless? No, it's great, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I've been fortunate to be a part of that a few times. And so, but I was really just made me start thinking about what is he saying? And I was like, well, he's basically saying exactly what Charlie said. Charlie worked his whole life to get somewhere. He made it, won a tournament. And it's like, this is it? Like, there's got to be something else, right? And it's just a recurring story. And the neat thing about being a caddy is, like, nobody's really paying attention to you when you're standing next to the star. So I get to actually watch the star and watch the people, and I get a real great view of what reality is. And I see people that worship a man, and I see a man that doesn't want to be worshiped, okay? And I'm like, okay, hold on for a second here. This guy does not like being famous. These people would do anything to be famous or just to say hi to this famous person. This guy won the biggest golf tournament in the world, is saying, this is empty, what the heck? And I'm going, it's got to be something better than this, right? And so when you start hearing the stories like Charlie, where Jesus Christ came in to their life, fulfilled that gap, started to give them peace. He says, man, I went out and played great today, but it wasn't in the cards, and I'm okay with that. There's more important things. You start seeing things through God's eyes, and he starts telling you, man, this is not that big a deal. And all those tough things that we all go through in life, whether it's cancer or, whatever you're dealing with, your parents, your family dies, something happens, you start to be able to see things through God's perspective, and it just starts to give you, as the Bible says, the peace that surpasses all understanding. You can't understand when you meet somebody like Charlie. It's like, why does he have this peace all of a sudden? I'll be honest with you, Charlie. I asked Aaron, I said, who is that guy? You look so different that I didn't even know who you were, and I know who you are. Literally, I met him back there. I was like, oh, Charlie, what's he do? Is he like a pro athlete or something? He's like, that's Charlie Beljan. I was like, what? No way, dude. But isn't that the cool thing? Yeah. But I'm saying, not even the weight, but it's more like the spirit, honestly. Like there's a different spirit and joy about you that when I would see you before, you were stressed, you were worried, you had that golfer look like, I'm on the PGA Tour, this is fun. I said, it's fun. You're like, okay, buddy, nobody's questioning you that this is fun. I'm living my dreams. Okay, buddy, keep living your dreams, I know there's a lot of you living the dream. Okay. But, the reality is like, man, why does everybody hate this so much? And I think the reason why they hate it is because you use the word, an expectation. Like, what my family expects me to keep doing this. My friends, they know how hard I've worked at this. There's an expectation. There's pressure. It's like, Scotty Scheffler, you're number one in the world. You're supposed to make putts. How is he missing putts? What's wrong with him? Well, when you hit it 2 feet on every hole, it looks like you should be making every putt, right? But it's like this crazy mentality. And man, it's such a blessing to be in the environment and be able to step 1 foot back and just watch it and just go, man, this is chaos, and I don't want any part of that worldliness, and trust me, it draws me in too. I get sucked into it sometimes as well, but when I step back and just observe, it's so clear to me that there is no fulfillment in that, none whatsoever. So here's how you can go and have joy in those moments. You can go and be present and enjoy the heck out of the Masters and compete to win. And if you win, dude, that was so fun. And if you lose, man, that was so fun. I'll say one more thing, because I like to talk a lot. One of my good friends, Jim Murphy, explains it like this. He said, think about when you get on a roller coaster, right? You're going up that roller coaster, tick, 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 tick. And as you're coming over the edge, your mom doesn't have cancer. Your dog didn't get hit by a car. You got all kinds of money in the bank. Like, there's nothing you're thinking about except that moment of euphoria. Hey! It's like, wait, you're so present. But then that moment goes away, and you're like, let's go get on the ride again. And it's the same thing in life. Like, we pursue money. If I could just get, some money, and you get it and you spend it, you're like, I need to get more. If I could just drink, if I could get some drugs, if I could win a tournament, if I could have a better car than that person, if I could have the biggest house. It's like we're always trying to get to that moment, and really it's just that moment of being present is what we really desire. And what Aaron was saying was the coolest way to find that moment, I challenge you to find that moment, is to do 2 things. Go find a quiet place and spend time with God. That's reading the Bible and praying. And I promise you, you're going to find that peace that surpasses all understanding, and you're not even going to understand why you're so peaceful now, why things don't bother you, why you don't desire those things, but you're going to be walking around going, man, life is hard, but I'm still blessed and joyful, and I have this peace about me, and I just want to share that with people. And that's why he came today. He came because he's like, I need to tell people about this. And that's what happens. So that's what I've experienced.
Awesome, brother. Good. So now listen to these guys. I mean, all these guys in one way or another, especially in the sports world, I mean, known as a player, one as a player, known even more as a teacher, known as a player, known as a child prodigy and teenager and Australian Open, et cetera, known as, one of the great caddies in all these events and tour events and, working with these guys. And what I'm consistently hearing is we are not designed to be worshiped. We were designed to worship. And when you understand that hierarchy and that design, then everything changes, because now the pressure's not on you. That's what I was hearing from Charlie, right? The pressure's not on me. I am a worshiper, and there's sovereignty, and there's a God. And I don't know why we get so enamored with atheists and their views, because what they're arguing is that they are nothing, that they are just cosmic chances. The argument for an atheist is that I don't mean anything, and that'll drive you to drink. But by the same token, we're also not meant to be worshiped, and we miss it on both sides badly as humanity. We strive to be worshiped, and you see that. We call it the show, right? I mean, go to the Phoenix Open this week, right? And you're going to see people just wanting to get into reflected glory, whatever it is, and yet we're not designed for that. We're designed to worship something greater than ourselves. Can you resonate with that? I mean, is that giving you peace through, the Bible talks about peace that surpasses all understanding through what you're going through right now? Does that resonate with you, Stan?
It fortunately, we all grow up different. Like, you came to Christ late, it's new to you. This was in my heart as a little boy. And sometimes I almost feel cheated to not have the big moment. But at the same time, I'm grateful to have always known it. And like one of my dilemmas as a little boy, I intended to play in the NBA. That didn't work out. So I dreamed about being a professional golfer. And that meant I couldn't go to church on Sunday because I was working at my job. That was a moral dilemma growing up. I justified myself saying I would have a platform. And this is a platform, but this isn't my main platform. I get to love on people in a quiet moment, giving them something they love. And I realize we are all gifted. And I was gifted more to teach than to play. And so I get to live in that moment knowing it's not my skill, it's not my talent. I was gifted to share little snippets of seeds and encouragement with what God gave me.
Powerful, powerful. So, Bads, describe what I will describe as a worshipful moment for you, right? So we seek those things. In fact, Jesus made this remarkable statement. He said he looks for those who will worship in spirit and in truth, right? So what is a worshipful, somebody out there is going, you know what, that's fine. Man has always had this instinctive desire not to mean something, but we don't really mean anything. But then you obviously, Jesus says we do mean something, then you respond in worship. What is that like? Describe that. What is a worshipful moment? Maybe you're in the desert, or maybe you're in the Word and you get this, or you said you communicate. There's a communication. Describe that.
I mean, going back to like that first win at Hilton Head, a bit like what Teddy was saying, like you build up, you have all these dreams, and you win that PGA Tour event, that first one you've been waiting for. And Rochelle and I were sitting at dinner that night, and we said the exact same thing, like, is this it? But I will say the best bit, hands down, the best bit of winning that first PGA Tour event was Monday morning. Rochelle went for a walk. I stayed back. I had quiet time with Jesus. And just to say thank you, like so grateful and so thankful that he had that plan and he showed us that plan. And like, that was like,
that's worship.
That's worship.
That's worship.
It's like saying, being grateful that he has a plan. It's not like, it's just, like you said, like the atheists, like they don't, it's just cosmic whatever. But God has a specific plan for us. It's not just, God's just making up as it goes. God's like, no, I have a good plan for you, a plan of a future and a hope. It's not to harm you, not to hurt you. He's a good God. He has plans for us. And that's a loving Father.
That will change your life.
Changes your life.
Your whole worldview, right?
Yeah, changes your heart, changes how you behave, how you treat people. Because everyone now has value, you know? Like a bit like what Stan was saying, like he has those quiet moments, like with people. Like that's something that, like when I travel by myself, I'll sometimes just sit in player dining a little bit longer than I used to. Just sit there and the guys will come up and talk to you about certain things or just building friendships. And that building the friendship gives you that opportunity to then speak into their life.
It's powerful. Awesome, awesome. So Teddy, yeah. Worshipful moment. What does that look like for you? You're talking about, I mean, is that peak for you? Or is it, I mean, you've been on the bag for these majors, man. Is a worshipful moment more meaningful than all that? I mean.
Yeah, I think, when I reflect on my life, my uncle, he always makes fun of me. He's like, how did you end up where you are today? And it's like, yeah, I got a high school education. I'm really not that good at anything, and here I am like, I guess I'll go teach, the two people that really like my teaching. And then Scotty Scheffler calls me, and I'm like, who's Scotty Scheffler? He's 19 in the world. I'm like, oh, cool, So it's like, I have to be grateful because I know that there's nothing I've achieved in my own merits, and I think that gratefulness, just waking up every day and saying, man, thank you. Even the opportunity to speak with some people here today is just fun. It's just like you can be present, and I just love that. I love to be able to say to God, thank you for allowing me to be present in this moment. And sometimes, the hardest times is like, okay, like I'll give you an example. Bubba one time shot 80. It was the first time he'd ever shot 80. And I told him, I said, today's the greatest day I've ever had as a caddy. And he's like, why? And I said, because you shot 80 and your attitude was just so wonderful. It was like you were so grateful and humble and the score didn't matter. And he's like, well, I sure would feel better if I shot 69, And I'm like, yeah, I know, but the point is like, man, it doesn't matter what you're going through, right? It's like, I just want to thank God for all circumstances because he says in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for the good of that love him. So yes, that little fender bender, man, that's for my good. I'm not sure how God's going to use it, but he's got a plan. And when you get to be 50 like I am, you can start looking back and going, oh, I saw that. Oh, yeah. Now I see why he did that, why that happened, why he allowed that. Oh, okay.
It's a set-up job.
Absolutely.
It's a set-up job.
It is. So
which takes the pressure off.
That's right. So it's like, that's the worship for me is just to go, hey, I don't know where I'm going, Lord, but man, this is so fun. Like, thank you. And that's the attitude that I try to have and just be grateful in all things because that really does give you peace, to just say, whatever you got, bring it. Let's see what happens.
So look, if you're out there and you don't have anybody to thank, I mean, if you can't look up and say, Father, thank you for this moment, thank you for this, that is a brutal way to conduct life. All these men, you've heard it, they've said, I've got someone to worship, I've got someone to be thankful for. I recognize there's a plan. I recognize that, we were talking about it even in the green room. You said, because I texted, I said, are you going to be there tonight, Stan? I was on my way over, and he goes, well, I'm not sure. And then he texted me back, and he said, oh, I think I'm going to come. Maybe I'd be happy to help around. And then Andrew Putnam was going to be here, and he couldn't be here, and there you are. It's a set-up job, and it happens over and over and over again. So in closing, I just want to share something real quick. So I had, you guys, it's a grievous story for me. But I had a guy, we were doing this tails deal here a couple years ago. Scotty was it was Monday. If some of you were here, it was Monday of obviously the Phoenix Open, and it was his first tour win. And he was on this stage, Scotty, Sam Burns, a few other guys, I think Stewart and Henley, I can't remember who was up on the stage that night. And then he went ahead and won that week. And that video we kept. And so I had a buddy that I had just started hanging around with at my club, a guy in his 70s, nice player, 5 handicap, Kansas City guy. And I said, hey, I just want you to watch this Tails deal. Just Scotty sharing his faith, Sam sharing his faith, just a deal. And he loved it. Now, he wasn't a church guy, wasn't around faith, didn't talk about it or anything. He just started to send it to his friends. He said, you can't believe this is the greatest thing in the world. And I don't know if he was because he knew who I was and we were buddies and played God. Maybe, I don't know. But I went over to his house, shared Jesus with him a little bit, just like these guys are doing with you. And his wife, his sweet wife, and then we started a little fellowship group out there we hadn't had, something akin to what Charlie was saying, just a group of guys. And so we got together, and about 10 guys at the club out there, and started opening a Bible. And he came, and he didn't have a Bible, so I went and bought him a Bible and sent it to his house in Kansas City. And he was there, and he got this Bible, and he sent me a text, and he says, hey, I got my Bible. I can't believe it. I'm reading my Bible. He's so excited about this new Jesus thing. Said, we're going up to Whistler and playing, and we're going to play up in Wisconsin, playing Whistler. And he and his wife, they played that day. They were on their way back. They just left the course, and they were in a head-on car accident. I think it was May, June. I can't even remember what it was. And they were both instantly killed. So, I just wept. I just wept when I heard the news. And so my first instinct was, I don't know anybody in Kansas City. I'm there, somebody dies, I'd be there for a spouse or something. I didn't know his family, didn't know his kids, didn't know anybody. And I got a call from a buddy named Jim Crawford. And he said, hey, I talked to his son, and his son's interested. They don't want just somebody to do the memorial in Kansas City here that didn't know it. But he talked about you. Now, why do you think he talked about me? Because I'm so special. I'm not special. He was seeing Jesus in me. And so he said, would you be willing to come back doing the memorial? And I kind of thought, it was kind of hard to do. And I prayed about it. And I said, yeah, I'm going. So anyway, long story short, his son found the Bible that I had given him in his father's house. And father has still a house in Palm Springs area. And we met just this last weekend. He came in, was kind of still settling up some estate affairs. And now he's entered a powerful walk with Jesus. He's about as far along as Charlie is. And he sent me this hoodie, and I got it the day before I left. I said, I'm going to wear it in honor of your dad. But look, this is real life stuff. It's, you don't know where you're going to be a day from now, a week from now, a year from now. Our challenge is to you, if you have faith, step into that tonight. If you've got the faith to believe in Jesus, step into it. If you don't, continue to pursue him. Jesus said, if you seek me, you will find me. These men have found Christ. And in a sense, he found them. He was always chasing them down, and he was chasing me down too. So Teddy, would you close? Just pray. Pray if somebody, it starts as simple as a prayer, a willing decision to say, I want to follow you. Would you lead us in a prayer to close this glorious night? And what a night it's been.
Sure, thank you. Father God, we just thank you so much for the testimonies that point to you. Creation points to you. Life itself points to you. The fact that the sun is the exact distance from the earth to keep this earth from being too hot or too cold points to you. There's just so many things, Lord, that guide us towards you. And I feel like there's people in this room tonight that are hearing you and hearing your call, and you're tugging at their heart. And I just pray for those people, Lord. I pray that they would be receptive to that they would not run from you anymore, as many of us did for a long time. I just pray that tonight would be the night, Lord, that they would say, you know what, I'm tired of being tired. It's time for me to give in and just let you be Lord of my life, Father. So just touch those people. Let them come up here if they need to and speak with us about what would be a next step, Lord. But I just thank you so much for everyone that attended tonight, and I just pray that lives would be changed. Each person has the greatest story that's ever been told. I love hearing people's stories, and we heard some great stories tonight, Lord, and I know there's plenty of great stories out in the audience, so I just pray that you would use these men and women in this audience to empower your army, Lord, to lift you up and glorify you even higher than we already should and that we do, Lord. So thank you for this opportunity. Keep everyone safe and let us travel safely. In Jesus' name we pray, Father. Amen.
Privileged to be with you. Thank you to these men.
Charlie, stand up. Give these guys and Charlie A big hand. We'll see you at Tales from the Dugout. Thank you for coming. Great job, brother.
you.